Eyewitness News is tracking new information tonight on Hurricane Irene. We've been tracking the storm for you for a week now, and tonight Irene is ripping up the East Coast, preparing to hit New York City and New England. Rhode Island is in a state of emergency tonight, which President Obama signed off on earlier today. Here's a look at Ocean Drive in Newport, where the waves are getting stronger, crashing into the coast. Storm surges are the main concern here tonight, with the potential to cause major flooding. Meanwhile, this is video out of North Carolina, hit hard by wind, floods, and storm surges. And even though the storm has weakened some, it still remains a threat to anything or anyone in its path. There have been 6 confirmed deaths now from Hurricane Irene. Make no mistake about it, this storm is dangerous. Power outages are another concern tonight. More than 1 million homes and businesses along the East Coast are without power right now. Here is the very latest at this hour. All Rhode Island ports and state beaches are now closed. We've just learned 12 cities and towns are now ordering mandatory evacuations, including North Kingstown, Middletown, and Tiverton, mostly in coastal, low-lying areas. And also new tonight, the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority is shutting down all services tomorrow, including bus, subway, and commuter rail. Our Pinpoint Weather team is helping you prepare and not panic tonight. We begin with Chief Meteorologist Tony Petrarca, who has been tracking Irene all week. He has new information straight in from the National Hurricane Center. Tony?
Well, that data coming in just 5 minutes ago, and we've noticed now an acceleration in the forward speed of Irene, now accelerating up the coastline north-northeast. Take a look at live Pinpoint Doppler 12 radar, because quite often, well in advance of tropical systems, and we see this all the time, 38 hurricane, 54 hurricane, Bob, Gloria, well in advance of the storm, you get the moisture streaming up the coastline. So while the storm itself is about 360 miles southwest of Block Island, you can see on the Doppler radar what we call feeder bands, these bands of tropical moisture that come in off the ocean. At 1 minute it can be nice and quiet, and then the next minute you get these downpours, and this is what we're seeing coming in right now, and there'll be more to follow during the overnight hours right on through tomorrow. We can widen out the view. In the center of the storm now, here's the Chesapeake Bay, is right in here, so it's actually moved out over the open waters once again. But notice how one side of the storm has the heavy rain, and the other side is really dried out, and that's another typical sign as these systems move further north into the northern latitudes. A lot of the real heavy rain tends to be on the back side of it, and because the storm will be tracking off to our west, we think that's where the heaviest rain is going to fall. We'll show that to you in just a second. Hurricane warning areas in dark red, Providence Point south and east. Tropical storm warning for the area in orange. Again, we've been saying this for the last day now. We feel as though tropical storm forced wind gusts and hurricane force wind gusts will be in gusts and not so much sustained. In other words, even though there's a hurricane warning, we're not anticipating winds to be consistently blowing at 80 miles per hour, but a gust to 70 or 80 is likely, especially along the south shore, and that may take down some trees and some power lines, so power outage is possible. Live pictures of the Fox Point hurricane barrier, 75 degrees outside right now. The dew point very tropical and ultra high, and that high humidity is going to fuel some of these heavier downpours and even some thunderstorms. Category 1 hurricane, top winds at 80 miles per hour. Now, just 2 days ago, this was a storm that had winds of 125. So if there's anything good about this is that it has not gotten stronger, but that's not to say that we're not getting hazardous weather tomorrow, because we will. Starting to accelerate now north and northeast, and the impacts really start to kick in here tomorrow morning and then continuing right on through the afternoon hours. Here's a wider perspective, and you can see that spin now off the Chesapeake Bay and tracking north-northeast. It'll parallel the mid-Atlantic coastline and then pass across Long Island, New York, and western Connecticut later tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. Here's the latest from the Hurricane Center. Well, first of all, we have computer models that can actually predict wave heights with ocean storms, nor'easters, and hurricanes. Here we are at around 10:30 this evening. Now, all of this white area represents waves, forecasted wave heights of 30 feet. And notice this huge amount of wave action just offshore. 15-foot waves about 100 miles off the coastline. So a lot of this wave energy, it gets brought to our coastline. And that's why we're going to see some tremendous surf at area beaches and the south shore tomorrow. Then as the storm pulls away up into Canada, the bigger waves start to pull away tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. Here's the latest from the Hurricane Center. Winds of 80, gusts to 100, and tracking north and northeast. Let's show you the brand new forecast that just came out from the National Hurricane Center. a Category 1 storm off the New Jersey coastline. Landfall Sunday afternoon and then weakening to a tropical storm up in northern New England by tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. That puts us on the right-hand side of the storm. That is the windiest part of the storm. So we get these strong onshore winds coinciding with the time of high tide tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. That's why we have the potential for some coastal flooding. Eventually the storm racing away. On the left-hand side of the storm track, right along the storm track itself and to the left, that's where the heaviest rain will fall. We're thinking 4 to 6 inches, though, of very heavy rain. And tropical storm force winds have winds anywhere between 39 and 73. This will be realized at least in gusts coming up tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. So overnight bands of heavy rain continue, and then the wind picking up. We're talking about 35 to 55 sustained wind, gusts to 60 to 80, 3 to 6 inches of rain, and the coastal surge of 4 to 7 feet. During our next weather segment, we're going to talk more about the coastal surge and the potential for how much rain may fall. All the information, another weather update coming up in about 5 minutes.
Thank you, Tony. North Carolina is starting to assess the damage as Hurricane Irene moves out and up the East Coast. Tonight, major cities, including New York, are taking unprecedented moves to prepare for Irene. Eyewitness News reporter Karen Brown joins us now with more pinpoint weather team coverage from Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina.
Hurricane Irene tore holes in buildings as it slammed into North Carolina with 100-mile-per-hour winds. Its huge gusts knocked down signs and power lines. During the height of the storm, some people headed outside to check on the damage to their homes.
As long as it doesn't do much more than what it's already done, then I think we'll be okay.
North Carolina's governor says the state's coast was hit hard.
The state and our people have sustained some really significant damage. I don't know what the cost will be, but I think the cost is going to be significant.
Here in the Outer Banks, they are expecting more damage through the night. The storm surge continues to be a major concern, and they expect flooding to be a lingering problem as Irene heads up the coast. In Virginia, fierce surf damaged this boat and forced emergency crews to rescue 2 people on board. It's believed the hurricane spawned several tornadoes, damaging homes in the mid-Atlantic. And Irene is already blamed for several deaths, including an 11-year-old boy who died when a tree crashed into his home in Virginia.
It goes out to the people and the family.
States evacuated more than 2 million people in Irene's path. New York City isn't taking any chances. The city suspended mass transit and shut down airports in advance of the storm. Officials say even though Irene is weaker, it's still very dangerous and will impact areas as far north as Canada.
President Obama is watching the storm very closely. He visited FEMA's command center Saturday, and the government has thousands of troops ready to help with relief efforts once the storm clears. As we told you at the top of the newscast, there are currently 12 cities and towns with mandatory evacuations tonight. New tonight, North Kingstown, Middletown, and Tiverton. Join Westerly, Charlestown, South Kingstown, Narragansett, Coventry, Bristol, Portsmouth, Newport, and Jamestown. Newport also on that list, and as we saw, many homes in the city by the sea are boarded up. Owners are not taking any chances with Irene. Eyewitness News reporter Nick Nwosu is live on Aquidneck Island with more.
Well, Aaron, coastal areas of Newport here must be evacuated by midnight. That is less than 40 minutes from now. And we can tell you that it's been raining on and off here tonight, but the winds are really starting to pick up. This is their kind of weather. Brave surfers riding the waves at Newport's Easton's Beach, while homeowners boarded up and looked for higher ground. The city issued a mandatory evacuation of coastal areas by midnight Saturday. We're on Ocean Drive in Newport, where you can see the waves have really started to pick up. The police officers have blocked off this road. They're asking residents to evacuate, but they say they're having a difficult time getting people to heed their warnings.
On the Common Fence Point area to begin at 4 p.m. today.
When she heard the Common Fence area of Portsmouth was under a mandatory evacuation, Sherry Monsinger didn't wait to pack up.
Never in the history of this house has there been water past this driveway, halfway up the driveway, so we're hoping that that's the case for us now.
3 Portsmouth And if you have been evacuated here on Aquidneck Island, we can tell you there are 2 local shelters, one at Gaudet Middle School in Middletown, the other at Portsmouth Middle School. Live with the mobile newsroom in Newport, I'm Neka Nwosu, Eyewitness News.
Governor Chafee and a team of state and local officials are closely watching Irene's progress and have taken several steps to ensure the public is prepared and not panicked. Eyewitness News reporter Marilyn Scherer is live at the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency's headquarters in Cranston with more live pinpoint weather team coverage.
Earlier today, Governor Chafee thanked President Obama for declaring a federal emergency in Rhode Island, and the governor says he and his team of officials are prepared for what he calls this lumbering giant known as Irene.
With me.
Governor Lincoln Chafee assured all Rhode Islanders that storm preparations and emergency operations are in place as Irene tracks north closer to the ocean state.
We have some good news that it could be weakening, but it still is a major significant event. We have seen in some reports around the country that there have been some fatalities, so please be careful.
Early Saturday, the governor toured the state, including the Fox Point hurricane barrier, which has one gate down. The governor says the barrier is fully functional and ready to go. He says it will activate if and when seas reach 7 feet.
Once they close the gates, then they have to activate some of the most powerful pumps in the world.
Look after your home, make sure that your home is safe and your family's safe, and take a moment also if you've got older neighbors or relatives and make sure they're prepared for the storm as well.
The governor and lieutenant governor took a moment to speak with residents about the approaching storm. Officials say the biggest concern with Irene is storm surge and winds, which could shut down bridges.
At 69 miles per hour, sustained winds will shut the Jamestown Bridge as well as the Pell Bridge down. We've communicated that with Jamestown officials. They understand that. We're not going to put the law enforcement or safety personnel in harm's way to cross those bridges neither.
As of right now, we're on 24-hour operations, both in the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency Emergency Operations Center, as well as the Guard Joint Operations Center. So we're co-located and we'll be around-the-clock operations.
And the briefing room remains quiet now, but will remain open until Irene is no longer a threat. Now, you can find out the latest developments here on Eyewitness News beginning at 5 a.m., including the governor's next briefing, which will be carried live here on Eyewitness News at 9 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. That is the latest. Reporting live with the West Bay Mobile Newsroom, Marilyn Scherer, Eyewitness News.
You are looking at a beautiful shot right now, live shot of Newport. Hurricane Irene continues to move up the east coast, heading for New England. And as we've been telling you, although the storm has weakened, it could still bring a big punch for us here in southern New England. Eyewitness News is helping you prepare and not panic. More hurricane coverage is coming up. Plus, you can get all the latest weather updates and new information online at WPRI.com. We'll be right back.